Did you see Tony Clark's response to Manfred guaranteeing a lockout? Please tell me this is all positioning. Well, I would like to answer your question. And what you're referring to is something we talked about yesterday. So thank you for listening to the show yesterday, where I do believe we talked about this yesterday, Coca, where the commissioner, Rob Manfred, talked about an off-season lockout. And this is after 2026 season when the collective bargaining agreement expires. And that off-season lockouts are actually not painful for players because they're not getting paid. They're not painful for owners because they're not losing gate revenue. They're not missing games. And that it is the best way and the potentially only way to get to a new CBA. And I told you that that is true. I just wouldn't say it publicly. Because when you say it publicly, then you're going to raise the ire of Tony Clark, the head of the players union, and you're going to force him to make a comment. And Tony Clark is in front of the media every day now because during spring training, one of his things is that he goes around to every team, all 30, and he has meetings with every clubhouse. We were never allowed when it was the union meeting. We would get notice in the front office because we're in the clubhouse every day, before and after spring training games, before and after workouts, during games. But the rule is simple. When the union is having a meeting, it's sort of like a players-only meeting. When the players want a players-only meeting, they'll ask us, and we'll say, of course, and then we will not be in the clubhouse. Sometimes we'd stay in the clubhouse manager's office with our sort of ear right to the door. Not really often. We'd have the clubbies do that. Hey, what went on? Anything going on? But when the union's meeting, what Tony Clark is doing is he's just going through a few issues. It's not a big deal. But then he gets to meet with the media because the media always is made aware. All of the beat writers and all of the local media who are there at spring training every day, they all know what the schedule is. They know when there's team meetings. They know when there's league meetings. They know when Mike Hill from baseball comes and meets with the players or when the union happens. So Tony Clark is meeting with the Dodgers. And then he had a quote. His quote is, "Our goal is always to sit down and negotiate in good faith and find ground on a fair deal." I always like that when you set a goal that is so stupid that it makes you sound ridiculous when you say it. My goal is to make sure I use the bathroom when I have to go. It's a pretty good goal. Seems easy to do, doesn't it? The goal is to sit down and negotiate in good faith. That seems like fairly obvious. Find ground on a fair deal. Good. Is that really your goal? Seems easy. Good. Here we go. Tony Clark continued. We're not the ones professing that a lockout is a good thing or that it's definitely going to happen. That would be the commissioner's office. Here's where he's a little off base. The reason why lockouts happen from management prior to players striking is that there are rules. NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, however it's constituted. There are certain reasons why management institutes a lockout versus waiting for the players to call a strike. The words good faith are not used by accident by Tony Clark. Negotiating good faith. He said, we're prepared to have a conversation. We're always prepared to be at the bargaining table in good faith. Two good faiths in one quote, because that's the law. Both sides have to bargain and negotiate in good faith in a collective bargaining negotiation. And should there be any legal action from one side against the other, or NLRB intervention or court intervention, good faith becomes the threshold. Did you sit down and bargain in good faith? Owners and presidents would sit down and meet with the league and the labor department of the commissioner's office, and we knew our points that we wanted: salary cap, salary floor. We wanted different definitions of revenue sharing, whatever it is that we wanted as it related to pension, anything. But the overlaying concept is that we always had to make sure that we could pass the legal threshold of good faith. It's an easy threshold. Lack of bargaining in good faith is extremely hard to prove, because what you have to do is you have to say to a judge, you have to say, listen, these guys never wanted a deal. And I'm thinking back right now over 18 years. There's not one CBA that I was a part of. There's not one moment or one grievance where I said, you know what? I'm not interested in a deal. You know what? I don't want to come to a finality with you. Either the players or the league or the union or the agent. I always wanted to get a deal done. Now, I always wanted to get a deal done on my terms. That's true. Don't mistake bad faith for a negotiating position. That is incorrect. I can be absolutely in a disagreement over your value. Whether it's an employee, whether it's a player, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean I'm in bad faith because I look at you and say, you're not a $20 million player. You're a $5 million player. Players used to argue that all the time. How could you make me an offer? It's insulting. You're not negotiating in good faith. Agents would do that during arbitration. How could you compare my player to that player and only offer him $3.2 million? He should be compared to this player, and you should be offering him 4.6. You're not in good faith. Absolute horse hockey. Tony Clark is positioning in the media. Rob Manfred is positioning in the media. And I wanted it to stop yesterday. I want it to stop today because it's not going to be productive.